I'm started. Howdy, buckaroos. How the heck? This is Tom the Beer Whisperer. I am joined for a special session at the Beer Whisperer Pub with the one and only Brew Guru, John the Brew Guru. And we're here to talk about Old Tankard recently back to life by Pabst. So I'm going to defer to John here while he talks a little bit about the beer.
Tom, good to see you, buddy. This is a beer that I'm really excited about. As you might be able to tell, I'm out on my patio. It's actually a cool day for us for May. It's right now it's about 70 degrees, 69 degrees, and it was mid 50s this morning. But it's still a great day to be outside drinking a beer, and I'm about to grill some burgers shortly. And I think this is a perfect beer to start things off with. Because it's a good all-purpose beer, right? So we could talk about it for in relation to craft beer today, and a lot of beer geeks are probably going to say that it's not going to knock their socks off. But I think the thing about Old Tankard that is so unique is the history of it, and so this is a beer that our grandfathers probably drank. It comes from 1935, and it's not been on the market for I don't know how many years, but quite a long time. But I think one thing that Pabst is doing is that they're kicking the butts of the other big guys, right? Is they're bringing back these revival beers. So they're not only showing us that there's a history of good craft brewing in the U.S., but also you've got Anheuser-Busch is they've got Shock Top, and Coors has Blue Moon, and I've had some beers from them that are pretty good, but for the most part, I think they're just an imitation of good craft beer. It's the big guys wanting to jump in the pool, but not wanting to go in head first or with both feet. They're just kind of dipping their toe. Well, what Pabst I think is doing and showing them up is, they're pouring beers like Old Tankard and Ballantine IPA. And really kicking their butts with it. So, I think that's why this beer is of such significance. It's the historical value, and it's a great easy drinking beer with a lot of flavor too. So
stylistically, where would you put this? Would you
ESB? Yeah. Pabst calls it an ESB, but as soon as I took a sip, the malt and hop profile are both. Appropriate to that style. It's got a nice firm maltiness to it. It's a little bit chewy, but it's got it's dry hop, so it's got those aromatics going on. It's really, I think, a great beer. And I've got this old Stroh's Tankard, so I already wrote a review on this beer and put it on my website. The Pabst glass, but I got this Stroh's in the 90s, and I love this Tankard, so I'm going to use it for that. And it's
that I just got yesterday, as a matter of fact. My wife found it at a DAV store. It's a pheasant. My mom and dad always collected pheasants, so anytime she anything pheasant, she picks it up for me. I do other glasses and cocktail glasses, but it's my pheasant Tankard.
That's awesome. And I was thinking of you today. We'll do our little public service announcement for the day, but you mentioned you got it at Disabled American Veterans, and that was my dad's favorite charity. And I happened to be at Home Depot, and they had these. I don't even know if I need one of these right now, but I'm sure I will at some point. It's just a nozzle for the hose, but it's made in the USA by disabled veterans. So I thought it was really cool. And anybody, if you happen to be at Home Depot, pick one up and support your veterans.
Now, when Pabst reproduces a beer like this, like they did with the Ballantine IPA or the Burton, now the Old Tankard, what do you think they're appealing to? What demographic are they looking? Are they looking to inspire younger craft beer drinkers, or do you think it's mostly nostalgia, getting guys maybe our age, maybe a few years older, to read for the history of beer? What do you think they're looking for, or does it matter?
Well, I think it's a little of both. Now, I know all throughout my career of drinking beer, if you want to call it that, I've always been fascinated by the history of beer, and that's one of the reasons that Valentine IPA and now Old Tankard appeal to me. I used to subscribe to the American Breweriana Association magazine, and they always had great stories about old defunct American breweries from long ago. So I like to think that, I've been enjoying that since, my mid-20s. So I hope that kids today and, people that are a little older would all enjoy, the history. If you like something, I think you always want to know more about it, right? You want to know where it came from and where it's going. And so I think that would appeal to the modern beer drinker or the younger beer drinker as well as the old timer. But it wouldn't get them very far just on that alone. The beer has to be good. And in both cases, I think, if either Valentine IPA or Old Tankard Ale, if you released them under a completely different name, I think they would still appeal to modern beer drinkers because they have flavor to them, and they're good quality beers with made with quality ingredients. So,
well, I think, in my opinion, even those beer drinkers that are looking for different flavor in the Valentine IPA or the Old Tankard has to offer, how you can deny that it's a well-crafted beer. I mean, it's perfectly, whether it fits with your taste buds or not, really is irrelevant. But you can't deny that it's a well-made beer.
Yeah, it is, and I think you've got some beer geeks that are after the thinner-bodied IPAs today, with the more of the the modern mosaic type hops with the more fruity than resiny piney. But there's still a lot of people that enjoy beer that have been I've been drinking it since the 80s. We didn't have that many resiny citric IPAs back then, but we did in the 90s, right? We did in the aughts, and I think Valentine IPA has a lot of that with a little bit of old style English grassy herbal hops thrown in too. I think there's enough, there are plenty of people that still appreciate those beers. There's modern breweries that are making them. I think of a year ago, I was up at Cherokee Casino, Harris Cherokee, and I had a longleaf IPA from a little brewery up in North Carolina that was exploding with resin and citrus. So there's still breweries that are making them, and there's still people that are enjoying them.
So I'm getting those. I'm certainly getting a lot of toasted malt. But when I did a video for it the other day, I was picking up some nutty, almost hazel-like notes. But you are one of the top reviewers in the game, and certainly one of the more respected reviewers. What aromas are you personally in this?
Well, in the nose, definitely I get it like a tea-like herbal hop aroma.
Yeah, I can see that. Sure.
I get that, and I get a little bit of, exactly as you say, that nutty type maltiness. And there's a little caramel malt in there too, and it's slightly toasty. And then there's the hop aroma comes back. It's the same kind of herbal hoppiness to it, and then it finishes to me dry. So
very dry. Yeah, it's very, very clean at the end, in my opinion.
And it has good body, but it's it's very drinkable at the same time. So.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk about glassware for a second, since you and I both like to pick up glassware. I know a lot of younger drinkers that don't like to drink anything or use any glassware other than a Belgian or a tulip glass. Here, both of us are drinking a tankard. Do you think a beer loses anything out of a glass like this?
Not at all. I think that's so. The tulip glass, if it's got a wide mouth, I think really the only attribute to me that might enhance the appreciation of a beer is how wide the mouth is, and that's because it allows you to better gauge the aroma, right? The greater the surface area, then the more aromas are going to waft off the beer. When you take a sip, I don't think that. To me, I've got a large collection of beer glasses. I use, me. I match. My primary concern is to match the beer brand of the glass with the beer I'm drinking as closely as possible. And
yeah,
I don't really think that maybe the Belgians are onto something with the wide mouth goblets that they use, but a big wide mouth tankard like this is great too. So that's not my thing. So.
Well, having a beer called Old Tankard, I felt like it had to be poured into a tankard.
There you go. I wouldn't be surprised before long if you see Pabst selling Old Tankard tankards, and I'll be one of the first ones lining up to get one. So.
Oh, you know, and I'm a bit of a tightwad, as you know, and most of my glassware comes from thrift stores and DAV stores and Goodwill stores. But yes, I will buy one of those if they come up. So I have one that I can actually match with the glass, because that's important to me. It's OCD kicking. I love to match with the glass. I do the same. Yeah. Glasses too. I have to match them up when possible. So, what tasting notes would you like to bet on this?
Pretty much what we remarked upon before. You know, just those earthy, very herbal aromas in the nose, and the little bit of caramel malt, a little more of it in the palate, and the toasty nuttiness, and the dry finish, and a very, very drinkable. I don't know if you can see it, but I love the head on this beer too. So, I don't think it's going to come through without me spilling beer off the table. So,
yeah, it's nice. I mean, you do feel just a sweetness, but not too much. I mean, there is some body to it, but it's not too heavy. And I am getting some of that almost hazelnut-like malts in there. A few weeks ago, I had a beer from a brewery in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It was an ESB that was brewed with Earl Grey tea. I mentioned what we were at the tea flavor. Do you think a beer like this that uses those herbal hops lends itself to kind of a new age craft beer like that?
I'm sorry, a beer brewed with tea, you said?
Yeah, it was brewed with Earl Grey tea.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you think about it, what is tea but the leaf of a plant, just like hops?
Yeah.
Right? So of course,
the earthy quality of this. It was an ESB. It was an Earl Grey ESB. You think the nature of the style just lends itself well to that experimentation?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Actually, there's been beers over the ages that I've thought of. At times, Sam Adams Boston Lager sometimes has that herbal tea-like aroma to me, and other beers do too, especially dry hop beers like Old Tankard, because it allows the aromas to come through. Doesn't impart bitterness, but it does add a lot of aroma, and that's what you're getting here. And yeah, I think that's a great idea. For a beer, because it's a plant. I had a beer the other night at Taco Mac a couple of weeks ago called Southbound Picture of Nectar, and that had a lot of different hop varieties, but it was also pretty well seasoned with elderflowers, and that added an interesting element to the beer as well. So hey, it's all plants and it's all seasoning to the beer.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I agree. Talk about value for a second. In my neck of the woods, this was in a 4-pack of pint cans for $6.79 a 4-pack. And for my money, I mean, I'll spend that all day long. And it's absolutely worth that. To me, it is a craft beer, even though it's brewed by Pabst.
Yeah, I think the definition of craft beer, I don't agree with what whatever the modern buzzword is. It's not the size of the brewery, it's the quality of the beer. I am a firm believer that when the big guys do make a good beer, we should celebrate them for it, because all we've done, and this has gone on since the 90s, is complain when the big brewers make swill and mega brew, and we say, well, you know what, they're trying to force it down our throats. But then they try and give us something that's halfway decent, and all we do is complain about that too. So I think in a lot of ways they can't get a break, and I think kudos to Pabst for putting out a great beer like this. I agree with you about the price too. The $6.99 for 4 16-ounce cans that's a great deal as well. So,
well, I mean, I made a comparison of Bud and Coors Light at the same store. I picked up this was 9 cents more. It was $6.88. Well, this was $6.79. Of course, I'm comparing 64 ounces to 72 ounces. But I mean, for virtually the same amount of money, I can buy this as opposed to that. So for those that say, "Well, I buy this other beer because it's cheaper," I think that's nonsense. I think if you're paying attention, you can find a quality beer for about the same money.
Oh, sure you can. Yeah, I'd give up those 8 ounces between the 64 and 72 heartbeat for something that tastes as good as this does instead of something that has no flavor at all to it.
Yeah.
What's the point? You might as well just drink water unless you're just looking for the alcohol. So in the in the swill. So
Well, this is 5.835. So stylistically, both of us refer to it as an ESB. So historically, stylistically, does that fall in line with the style?
yeah, I think it's around that. I think the English ESPs you won't probably see a lot of them that high. Um,
A little higher in the ABV, yeah.
but it's not off by much. A lot of the English, English beers tend to run lower in alcohol than what we like to kick them up to. I think probably 5 to 5.5 would probably be about the range for an English. So 5.8 it's within the bounds of respectability. I think it's very
Well, especially, I mean, this is an American craft version of. I don't know that they're trying to be an original ESB, but it is a version of an ESB.
right. But it's brewed to a classic recipe too. I mean, if you look at
Yeah.
you go to their website, they've got the logbook from 1937 with the recipe they used. So everything is the same, I think, pretty much. So they may be trying to gear to modern taste, but at the same time, they're sticking to classic traditions, and that's what they did with the Ballantine IPA as well. I love the fact that they're kind of stick it in the nose of the quote unquote hipsters who think that they invented craft beer because they didn't. It existed, a long time before they did and we did. So,
Yeah. Of course, there wasn't a need for a distinction because other beers hadn't been dumbed down to the point that they have been. But yes, I mean, there had been great beer in America long before.
Yeah, long before Prohibition. What Prohibition did was it really killed off a huge number of the small breweries that were making great beer. And when the big guys came back, Anheuser-Busch in the late 19th century had been, they had already been cranking out large amounts of, pretty much, I doubt it. I doubt that the beer that they made in those days was as dumbed down as what you get today, but I could be wrong.
No, I know it wasn't. No.
But they were trying to, it was a lager because the, massive influx of German immigrants, lagers were popular. But, we shouldn't forget that Pabst was at the turn of the century, not this century, but the 19th to the 20th century. Pabst was the biggest selling brand and the biggest brewer in the country. So they were bigger than Anheuser-Busch in those days. But they came out of Prohibition. And they had they brought back with them a great tasting beer like this, which just means they were brewing great beer before Prohibition. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of small brewers that were also brewing great beer, they didn't come back. And that was the first step in the blandification of American beer. The second probably was, World War II and the big brewers like Anheuser-Busch shipped over to Europe tons and tons of bland, kind of light, flavorless lagers, and you got a bunch of people weaned on that stuff, and they came to think that that's what beer was supposed to taste like, and that was the beginning of the end for a lot of brewers. Still made, Narragansett had a Bock beer, and they made ales, and Schmitz of Philadelphia did, and Matt Brewery. So some brewers clung on to a few flavorful beers, but for the most part, they died off after World War II. So
I think Pabst reviving these old recipes again, the Ballantine, the Burton, and now the Old Tankard, I think is brilliant. I'd like to see them continue and do more.
Yeah, I would too. I even though these retro labels that they have are fantastic. I just think it's pretty amazing. So it wouldn't matter if the beer wasn't good, but the beer's good. So
yeah, I agree. I love when classic labels. I would again. I don't know if they still do. I know at one time Pabst owned Olympia, I don't know if they still do or not. I mean, I know that's still made in some parts of the country, but I would love to see some of these old beers brought back with the classic recipes. Like they tried to do that with Schlitz, I don't know, about a decade ago, bring back their 60s recipe. I would love to see some of these even classic beers like Olympia and others, bring back those classic recipes and not the corn and whatever they're trying to sell for beer now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Narragansett has done pretty well. I don't think they claim that it's the exact same recipe. Maybe it is. It's close to what the old Narragansett that was brewed in Rhode Island was like, but they've had a lot of success. And if you're going to drink a American lager, and I do like them at times, if whenever I have the choice, it's a Narragansett. They're finally brewing their brewery in Rhode Island. Rheingold, they tried to revive their brand. I don't think they had as much success. I haven't seen them in a long time, so I don't know if they're still brewing a revival of Rheingold. But I think the Rooster he's had cans of Natty Boh, so that's
yeah. He sent me one a while back.
Yeah, so you got some efforts. I think some of them are not really much more than an attempt to bring back a brand, but in some cases too. There's I remember drinking. I wish somebody would bring back the good old Schmitz beers of Philadelphia because the Bach beer, man, that was great. I loved that beer.
So, any final words you'd like to say about the Old Tankard to close this session out?
No, just I would say kudos to Pabst, and keep them coming. Bring back more of this stuff, and keep giving us great beers and teaching us something, and giving us a history lesson while you're at it. Hey, they're actually in the process of building a brewery in Milwaukee again. So it's
really? I didn't know that.
It's just going to be a small craft brewery. They're going to do some special micro brews, but to me, as I said before, of all of the big guys, and Pabst, even though they don't have a brewery at all right now, they're the biggest American-owned macro brewer. So let's give them a shot, and when they brew beers that we can call real, honest, flavorful beer, let's support them and buy the stuff. So that would be my last word, I think.
Well, there we go. So sometimes I try to overanalyze. I think a lot of us beer geeks do. Who are they trying to market a beer for? Are they trying to get us old guys? Are they trying to get the younger beer drinkers? And the truth is, it really doesn't matter as long as you keep bringing back classic recipes. It's going to appeal for some. It's going to appeal to everybody. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of us old guys. And with any luck, it's going to get younger beer drinkers to start appreciating beer history and style. So, hey, I want to thank John, the Brew Guru, for joining me at the Beer Whisperer Pub, and I want to thank Pabst for bringing us back. I think it's absolutely wonderful beer. All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.